In a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Atlanta, the air was thick with the scents of blooming magnolias and freshly cut grass. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the rows of modest houses lined with wooden porches and weathered fences. Life here moved slowly, with neighbors greeting each other warmly as they passed by. Among them was 16-year-old Marcus Taylor, a kind-hearted boy with an affinity for fixing things. A life of simple means, Marcus lived with his mother, Lisa, in a small but tidy two-bedroom house. It wasn't much, but Lisa made sure it was a home filled with warmth and love. The walls were adorned with framed family photos and Marcus's certificates from school. The kitchen smelled perpetually of something baking, Lisa's way of making ends meet as a part-time baker. Their neighborhood wasn't the safest or the wealthiest, but it was home. Marcus spent most of his time helping his mom, studying hard at school, or tinkering with old gadgets he found at garage sales. His room was a treasure trove of wires, gears, and broken electronics he had collected over the years. Fixing things gave him a sense of control and purpose in a world that often felt unpredictable. The unexpected encounter. That evening, as Marcus sat on the porch cleaning the tools in his modest toolbox, he noticed Mr. William Jenkins, an elderly man who lived down the street, struggling with something in his yard. Mr. Jenkins was a retired factory worker, known in the neighborhood for his kind smile and his prized possession, an antique wooden radio he cherished dearly. Marcus stood up, his curiosity piqued, and walked over. "Evening, Mr. Jenkins. Need a hand?" Mr. Jenkins looked up, his weathered face breaking into a smile. "Evening, Marcus. I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with my radio. The old thing stopped working this afternoon, and it's been with me for more years than I can count." Marcus leaned closer, examining the radio. The wood was polished but worn from years of use, and the dials looked as though they'd been turned thousands of times. Marcus could tell how much it meant to Mr. Jenkins from the way he handled it, like a delicate heirloom. "Would you like me to take a look at it, sir?" Marcus offered, his voice filled with eagerness. "You think you can fix it?" Mr. Jenkins asked skeptically, though there was a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "I'll give it my best shot," Marcus said confidently. Fixing the unfixable, Mr. Jenkins handed over the radio, and Marcus carried it carefully back to his porch. Under the dim porch light, Marcus opened the back of the radio, revealing a tangle of wires and dust-covered components. He worked methodically, his hands steady and precise despite the late hour. The challenge invigorated him, and though the radio's insides were unfamiliar, Marcus's intuition guided him. As he worked, Marcus couldn't help but think about how his father used to tinker with gadgets before he passed away. Those memories of watching his dad fix broken things inspired Marcus's love for electronics. It was as if he were keeping a part of his father alive. After an hour of careful adjustments and a few creative solutions, including a paperclip to replace a broken connector, Marcus pressed the power switch. The radio crackled to life, filling the night air with the soft hum of a blues station. Marcus's face lit up with a grin, a grateful neighbor. When Marcus returned the radio, Mr. Jenkins was overjoyed. The old man turned the dials, the static giving way to clear music. "You've got magic in those hands, son," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "This radio's been with me since I met my wife. Thank you." Marcus shrugged, a little embarrassed by the praise. "It's nothing, sir. I'm glad I could help." But Mr. Jenkins wasn't convinced it was nothing. As he walked back into his house, cradling the radio like a long-lost friend, he couldn't stop smiling. A quiet night. Back at home, Marcus settled into his small room, the events of the evening replaying in his mind. He felt a quiet pride in knowing he'd made someone's day better. Fixing things came naturally to him, but it wasn't often that his skills could create such an impact. As Marcus drifted off to sleep, he had no idea that his act of kindness would soon bring a tidal wave of change to his life. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window, waking Marcus early. He got ready for school, his thoughts lingering on the projects he planned to tackle during his free time. His mom, as usual, had already left for work, leaving behind a plate of toast and scrambled eggs with a note wishing him a good day. But as Marcus stepped out onto the porch, he froze. Parked in front of their house was a sleek black car, and standing next to it was Mr. Jenkins, accompanied by a tall, sharply dressed man. Marcus hesitated, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Good morning, Marcus," Mr. Jenkins called out, waving him over. The man next to Mr. Jenkins turned and smiled warmly. "You must be Marcus," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Charles Jenkins. My father told me about what you did for his radio. I wanted to come by and thank you personally." Marcus shook the man's hand, his nerves settling slightly. "It was no big deal, sir. I was happy to help." Charles chuckled. "My father says otherwise, and as a token of our gratitude, we have something for you." He gestured to the trunk of the car, which popped open to reveal a brand-new professional-grade toolbox. Marcus's eyes widened as he took in the array of gleaming tools, far more sophisticated than anything he'd ever owned. An unexpected gift. "This is for me?" Marcus stammered. "Absolutely," Charles said. "My father told me how talented you are, and I believe in nurturing talent. These tools are yours to keep, and if you're interested, I'd love to talk about an opportunity to help you develop your skills further." Marcus looked at Mr. Jenkins, who was beaming with pride. For a moment, Marcus was overwhelmed, his mind racing with possibilities. He'd never expected a simple gesture of kindness to lead to something like this. "Thank you," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what to say." Charles smiled. "Just say you'll think about it. I'll be in touch." As the car pulled away, Marcus stood on the porch, clutching the toolbox. It felt like holding a key to a door he never knew existed, a door that was now open, waiting for him to step through. To be continued in Chapter 2, Ban Janoi. Chapter 2, ChatGPT Janoi. Chapter 2, A Door to Possibilities. The black car disappeared down the street, but Marcus remained rooted on the porch, his hands trembling slightly as they gripped the new toolbox. He opened it again, the morning sun reflecting off the polished surfaces of the tools inside. Each one looked brand new, more advanced than anything he had ever touched. It felt surreal, like a dream he might wake up from at any moment. His mother's voice broke through his daze. "Marcus, what's all this?" Lisa Taylor stood at the front door, her apron dusted with flour. She had just returned from an early delivery for the bakery, her brow furrowed with confusion as she eyed the toolbox. Marcus turned to her, still trying to find the right words. "Mr. Jenkins and his son, they gave this to me. It's a gift." Lisa's eyebrows shot up. "A gift? For what?" "I fixed Mr. Jenkins's radio last night," Marcus explained, setting the toolbox on the porch. "I guess it meant a lot to him. His son came by this morning, and, well, this is what they gave me." Lisa walked over and knelt next to the toolbox, inspecting the shiny tools. Her expression softened as she looked at Marcus. "This is incredible, baby. They must think the world of you to give you something like this." "I guess," Marcus said quietly, though he felt a flicker of pride at her words. Lisa placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've always had a gift for fixing things, Marcus. Maybe this is the start of something big for you." Her words hung in the air, filling Marcus with both excitement and doubt. Could this really lead to something more? An unlikely opportunity. Later that evening, Marcus sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the toolbox while his mother prepared dinner. His mind raced with possibilities, but the memory of Charles's offer kept surfacing. "I'd love to talk about an opportunity to help you develop your skills further," Charles had said. What kind of opportunity could he have meant? Lisa placed a plate of chicken and rice in front of him and sat down. "You've been quiet all day, Marcus. What's on your mind?" He hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Charles mentioned something about an opportunity. I didn't ask what he meant, but do you think I should? Lisa leaned back in her chair, her face thoughtful. Marcus, I think you've got a special talent. If someone sees that and wants to help you grow, maybe it's worth finding out more, but only if it feels right to you. Marcus nodded slowly, her words sinking in. He decided he would call Charles the next day. The call. The following afternoon, Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, the phone pressed to his ear. His heart raced as he listened to the ringing on the other end. "Hello, Marcus," Charles's warm voice answered. "I was hoping to hear from you." "Hi, Mr. Jenkins. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, and I'd like to know more about the opportunity you mentioned." "Excellent," Charles replied, his enthusiasm evident. "I'm part of a mentorship program for young people interested in engineering and technology. We work with students who show promise like you to help them develop their skills. If you're interested, we could start with a visit to my company this Saturday. What do you think?" Marcus's heart leapt. "That sounds amazing. I'd love to." "Great. I'll pick you up Saturday morning. Bring that toolbox. We'll put it to good use." As Marcus hung up, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Saturday seemed a lifetime away. Saturday morning. The sound of a car horn jolted Marcus awake. He leapt out of bed, quickly pulling on his best shirt and jeans. His mom, already in the kitchen with her coffee, smiled as he rushed past her. "You look good, baby," she said. "Remember to be yourself, and don't be afraid to ask questions." "I will, Mom," Marcus said, grabbing the toolbox. When he stepped outside, Charles was waiting by his sleek car, smiling warmly. "Good to see you, Marcus. Ready for an adventure?" Marcus nodded, climbing into the car. As they drove toward the city, Charles shared stories about his career in technology and the importance of mentorship. "Everyone starts somewhere," Charles said. "I had a mentor when I was your age, and it changed my life. Now, it's my turn to give back." The first look. They arrived at a modern office building with glass windows that gleamed in the sunlight. Marcus had never been anywhere like it. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Engineers worked at sleek desks covered in monitors, while others hovered over intricate hardware setups. Charles led Marcus to a spacious workshop filled with tools and gadgets. "This is where the magic happens," Charles said. One of the engineers, a young woman named Ellie, greeted them. "So, this is Marcus? Charles has told us a lot about you." Marcus blushed. "Nice to meet you, ma'am." Ellie smiled. "We're not formal here, Marcus. Call me Ellie. Let's get started. How about we build something simple today?" Building confidence. Ellie handed Marcus a small box containing parts for a basic circuit board. She guided him through the process of assembling it, explaining each component's function. Marcus quickly caught on, his hands steady as he soldered wires and connected pieces. "Impressive," Ellie said. "You've got a natural talent for this." Marcus beamed. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged in a place like this. A new path. As the day ended, Charles drove Marcus home. "You did great today," Charles said. "If you're interested, we'd like to have you come back regularly. We could even help you apply for a scholarship to a tech program when the time comes." Marcus's heart soared. "I'd love to, sir. Thank you for this opportunity." "Don't thank me yet," Charles said with a grin. "The real work starts now." That night, as Marcus lay in bed, the toolbox sitting proudly on his desk, he felt a new sense of purpose. For the first time, the future felt full of possibilities. To be continued in Chapter 3. Ban Jun Noi. Chapter 3. 2-2. ChatGPT Jun Noi. Chapter 3. Finding his footing. Saturday had come and gone, but Marcus's mind was still buzzing with excitement. The tools, the workshop, and the sense of belonging he felt while working alongside professionals. It all seemed too good to be true. As he sat at the kitchen table Monday morning, nibbling on a piece of toast, his mom noticed the distant look in his eyes. "You're quiet again," Lisa said, pouring herself another cup of coffee. "What's on your mind, baby?" Marcus hesitated, unsure how to put his thoughts into words. It's just everything at Mr. Jenkins's company was amazing. I've never felt like that before, like I could actually do something that matters. Lisa smiled, her eyes softening. You've always been capable, Marcus. You're just starting to see it for yourself. Her words stayed with him all day as he went to school, his usual routine suddenly feeling small compared to the possibilities ahead. A day of doubts. At school, Marcus tried to focus on his classes, but his thoughts kept drifting. When the lunch bell rang, he headed to the cafeteria, carrying his tray to his usual spot. His best friend Jamal was already there, stuffing chips into his mouth. "Yo, Marcus," Jamal said between bites. "What's up with you? You've been walking around like a zombie all day." Marcus sat down, shrugging. "I've just got a lot on my mind." Jamal leaned in, lowering his voice. "It's not about that old toolbox you've been talking about, is it?" "It's more than just a toolbox," Marcus said, his voice tinged with defensiveness. He hesitated, then told Jamal about his visit to Charles Jenkins' company and the offer to return. Jamal whistled, his eyebrows shooting up. "Man, that sounds big. You sure you're ready for something like that?" The question hit Marcus harder than he expected. Was he ready? He had fixed plenty of gadgets at home, but working with professionals was a whole different level. What if he messed up? What if they realized he wasn't as good as they thought? "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "What if I fail?" Jamal shrugged. "Then you fail. But at least you tried, right? You're always telling me how you want to do something with your life. This sounds like your shot." Returning to the workshop. The next Saturday, Marcus returned to the workshop. Charles greeted him warmly, handing him a lanyard with a badge that read, "Marcus Taylor, Intern." "Ready to get started?" Charles asked. Marcus nodded, though nerves twisted in his stomach. Ellie was waiting for him in the workshop, a smile on her face. "Hey, Marcus. Today we're going to troubleshoot a broken radio. Think you can handle it?" Marcus's eyes lit up at the familiar challenge. "I'll do my best." She led him to a table where a small, modern radio sat in pieces. Its sleek design was far different from Mr. Jenkins's antique, but Marcus wasn't intimidated. He examined the components carefully, noting a burned-out resistor. "I think this is the problem," Marcus said, pointing to the damaged part. Ellie nodded. "Good eye. Now, let's replace it." Marcus worked carefully, his hands steady as he soldered in a new resistor. When he finished, he reassembled the radio and plugged it in. To his relief, it worked perfectly. "Nice job," Ellie said, giving him a high five. For the first time, Marcus felt like he belonged here, not as a visitor, but as someone who could contribute. Facing challenges. In the weeks that followed, Marcus returned to the workshop regularly. Each visit brought new challenges: repairing circuit boards, assembling small gadgets, and even designing basic circuits. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. One day, Marcus struggled to repair a malfunctioning drone. No matter what he tried, the motor wouldn't spin correctly. Frustrated, he stepped back, his confidence shaken. Charles noticed Marcus's frustration and walked over. "What's going on?" "I can't figure this out," Marcus admitted. "Maybe I'm not cut out for this after all." Charles smiled gently. "Do you think I got everything right on my first try? Or my 10th? Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Keep going." Encouraged, Marcus returned to the drone, carefully retracing his steps. Eventually, he realized he had installed a wire incorrectly. Fixing it, he powered up the drone, and the motor whirred to life. Marcus grinned, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. The ripple effect. Back at home, Marcus's mom noticed the change in him. He carried himself differently, his shoulders a little straighter, his smile a little brighter. One evening, as they ate dinner, Lisa said, "You know, Marcus, I ran into Mr. Jenkins today. He told me how proud he is of you." Marcus looked up, surprised. "He did?" Lisa nodded. "He said you're inspiring. that your kindness and hard work remind him that good things still happen in this world. Hearing those words filled Marcus with pride, but it also reminded him of something important. The kindness he had shown Mr. Jenkins had come back to him tenfold. New Horizons, one Saturday, after a productive day at the workshop, Charles pulled Marcus aside. "I've been thinking," Charles said. "You've shown real promise these past few weeks. How would you feel about applying to a technical program? I know people who could help you get in, and I think you'd do great." Marcus's breath caught. The idea of going to a program designed for people like him, people who loved fixing and building, felt like a dream. "I'd love that," Marcus said, his voice full of emotion. Charles smiled. "Good. Let's start working on your application." As Marcus walked out of the building that evening, the city lights twinkling around him, he felt like his world was expanding. The workshop, the mentorship, and now the possibility of formal training, it was all leading to something bigger than he had ever imagined. To be continued in Chapter 4. Ban John Noy. Chapter 4. ChatGPT. John Noy. Chapter 4. The application process. The application for the technical program loomed over Marcus like a mountain he wasn't sure he could climb. Charles had handed him a packet of forms, instructions, and recommendations to read through. It felt overwhelming, the kind of task that tested not just his skills, but his determination. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, the forms spread out before him. His mother, Lisa, hovered nearby, a mug of tea in her hands. "You're awfully quiet, Marcus," Lisa said, settling into a chair across from him. "What's got you so tied up in knots?" Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's just this application. I've never done anything like this before. What if I mess it up? What if I'm not good enough to get in?" Lisa leaned forward, her gaze steady and full of warmth. "Marcus, listen to me. You've already proven you have what it takes. Charles wouldn't have given you this opportunity if he didn't believe in you. And I believe in you, too." Her words gave Marcus a spark of encouragement, but doubt still lingered in his mind. This wasn't just about fixing gadgets anymore. It was about taking a step toward a future he hadn't dared to dream about. The first draft. Over the next few days, Marcus devoted himself to the application. One section required an essay about why he wanted to join the program. He stared at the blank page on his notebook for what felt like hours, the words refusing to come. Jamal stopped by that afternoon, munching on a candy bar as he leaned over Marcus's shoulder. "What's this, homework?" "It's an essay for this tech program I'm applying to," Marcus explained, rubbing his temples. Jamal snorted. "Man, you're stressing too much. Just write what's in your heart, like, talk about how you fixed Mr. Jenkins's radio, or how you helped me fix my bike that one time. You're always fixing stuff. Just tell them why you love it." Marcus blinked. It was simple advice, but it clicked. Grabbing his pen, he started writing, the words flowing more naturally now. "From the time I was a little boy, I've been fascinated by how things work. When something was broken, I always wanted to fix it, not just to make it work again, but to understand it. This program would give me the chance to learn from people who are as passionate about technology as I am, and help me build a future where I can use my skills to make a difference." By the time he finished, Marcus felt a swell of pride. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest, facing challenges. A week later, Marcus met with Charles to review his application. They sat in Charles's office, the sounds of the bustling workshop faint in the background. "This is a good start," Charles said, his eyes scanning the essay. "But I think you can dig a little deeper. What makes you different from everyone else who's applying? What's your story?" Marcus frowned. "My story? You mean like how my dad used to fix things before he passed away?" Charles nodded. "Exactly. That's what makes you unique. Show them not just what you can do, but why you do it." The suggestion hit Marcus hard. Writing about his dad wasn't easy. His death was still a wound that hadn't fully healed. But Charles was right. That connection was at the heart of everything Marcus loved about fixing things. That night, Marcus rewrote the essay, pouring his heart into it. He described sitting on the floor of the living room as a child, watching his dad repair old radios and clocks. He wrote about how those moments inspired him to pick up a screwdriver for the first time, and how fixing things became a way to keep his dad's memory alive. A moment of doubt. As the deadline approached, Marcus couldn't shake his nerves. What if his story wasn't enough? What if the judges didn't see his potential? One evening, he sat in his room, the completed application in front of him, but he couldn't bring himself to seal the envelope. Lisa walked in, carrying a plate of cookies. "What's wrong, Marcus? You've been sitting here for hours." Marcus hesitated. What if I send this in and they don't pick me? What if all of this has been for nothing? Lisa set the cookies down and sat beside him. "Marcus, failure isn't the end of the road. It's just a part of the journey. Even if they don't pick you, you'll have learned something from this process. But I think they'll see what I see. A smart, hard-working young man with a heart full of potential." Marcus looked at her, her words filling him with a cautious hope. Taking a deep breath, he sealed the envelope and handed it to her. "Can you mail this for me tomorrow?" Lisa smiled. "Of course, baby. I'll make sure it gets there." The wait, the next few weeks were excruciating. Every day after school, Marcus checked the mailbox, his heart sinking a little more each time it was empty. Jamal tried to keep his spirits up. "Man, these things take time. You've got this. Just be patient." But patience wasn't Marcus's strong suit. The uncertainty gnawed at him, filling his dreams with scenarios of rejection and failure. Finally, one crisp fall afternoon, Marcus found a large envelope waiting for him. His hands trembled as he tore it open. Inside was a letter, its first line making his heart stop. "Dear Marcus Taylor, congratulations. You've been accepted into our program." The celebration. Marcus ran inside, waving the letter in the air. "Mom! Mom! I got in!" Lisa rushed out of the kitchen, her face lighting up. "You did! Oh, Marcus, I'm so proud of you." She pulled him into a tight hug, her eyes glistening with tears. "I knew you could do it, baby. I knew it." That evening they celebrated with a simple dinner of Marcus's favorite meal, fried chicken and macaroni and cheese. As they ate, Marcus felt a sense of joy and relief he hadn't experienced in a long time. Preparing for the next step. The program's start date was only a month away, and Marcus was determined to be ready. He spent every spare moment reading books about electronics and practicing with his new tools. Charles and Ellie continued to mentor him, giving him tips on what to expect. "You've already got the skills, Marcus," Ellie said one day as they worked on a circuit board together. "Now it's about showing everyone else what you're capable of." As the weeks flew by, Marcus felt his confidence grow. The nervous, unsure boy who had hesitated to send in his application was transforming into someone ready to tackle whatever challenges lay ahead. The morning of his first day in the program, Marcus stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his shirt. His mom appeared in the doorway, a proud smile on her face. "You look sharp, baby," Lisa said. "Go show them what you're made of." Marcus nodded, his heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement. This was it, the beginning of a new chapter in his life, to be continued in Chapter 5. Banja Noi, Chapter 5. ChatGPT Janoi. Chapter 5. The First Day. The morning air was crisp and cool as Marcus stepped out of the house, his backpack slung over one shoulder and his new toolbox in hand. The sun was just starting to rise, casting a golden hue over the quiet neighborhood. Lisa stood on the porch, her smile warm but tinged with emotion. "You ready, baby?" she asked, adjusting the collar of his shirt one last time. "I think so," Marcus said, though his stomach churned with nerves. "You're going to do great," Lisa reassured him, giving his shoulder a gentle squeeze. "Just remember to be yourself." With a final wave, Marcus made his way down the street to where Charles was waiting in his sleek black car. As he climbed in, Charles greeted him with a broad smile. "Morning, Marcus. Big day, huh?" "Yeah," Marcus replied, his voice tinged with both excitement and apprehension. "I'm nervous, though." "That's normal," Charles said, pulling the car onto the main road. "But remember this, you belong here. They picked you for a reason." Arriving at the program. The tech center was housed in a sprawling modern building with glass walls that gleamed in the morning sun. As Marcus stepped through the doors, he was greeted by the hum of activity, students chatting in small groups, instructors setting up workstations, and the faint buzz of machinery in the background. A receptionist directed Marcus to a large conference room where the new students were gathering. The room buzzed with energy, a mix of nervous chatter and excitement. Marcus took a seat near the back, his eyes scanning the room. He noticed a boy with thick glasses and a clipboard scribbling furiously, a girl with brightly dyed hair inspecting a small drone, and others like him, wide-eyed and unsure, but eager to learn. Meeting the team. "Good morning, everyone," a voice boomed from the front of the room. It belonged to a tall man in his 40s, with a kind face and a confident presence. "Welcome to the Tech Horizons program. I'm Mr. Bradley, your lead instructor. Over the next few months, we're going to challenge you, teach you, and most importantly, help you grow." The group fell silent, listening intently as Mr. Bradley outlined the program's goals: hands-on projects, collaborative learning, and mentorship opportunities. "You'll make mistakes," he continued, his gaze sweeping the room. "And that's a good thing. Mistakes mean you're trying. What matters is how you bounce back." His words resonated with Marcus, calming some of his nerves. The first assignment. After the introduction, the students were split into small teams for their first project, building a functional mini-robot. Marcus was paired with two other students, Jerome, the boy with glasses, and Maria, the girl with the drone. "Hey, I'm Maria," she said, giving Marcus a friendly smile. "You any good with circuits?" "I think so," Marcus replied, his confidence faltering slightly. "I've worked on some radios and small gadgets before." "Perfect," Jerome said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "We'll need someone to handle the wiring. I can design the code for the robot's movements, and Maria can assemble the chassis." They quickly got to work, huddling around their workstation. Marcus carefully examined the circuit board, soldering connections, and testing the power flow. Despite his initial nerves, he found himself slipping into a familiar rhythm. His hands moved with precision, and he began to lose himself in the task. Challenges and teamwork. Halfway through the project, they hit a snag. The robot's motor wouldn't start, and Maria's frustration was palpable. "Something's wrong with the power distribution," she said, frowning as she checked the wires. "Let me take a look," Marcus said, leaning over the board. He traced the connections carefully, his brow furrowed in concentration. After a moment, he spotted the issue, a loose connection near the battery terminal. "Got it," he said, tightening the wire. "Try it now." Maria flipped the switch, and the motor whirred to life. The team cheered, their confidence renewed. "Nice work, Marcus," Jerome said, giving him a thumbs up. "You've got a good eye for details." Marcus felt a surge of pride, his earlier doubts fading. Reflection and feedback. At the end of the day, the teams presented their robots to Mr. Bradley and the other instructors. Though their robot wasn't the most advanced, it worked flawlessly, earning praise for its functionality and teamwork. "Great job, team," Mr. Bradley said, nodding approvingly. "And Marcus, I heard you were the one who fixed that wiring issue. Keep it up." As the students began to pack up, Marcus felt a wave of relief and accomplishment. He had faced his first challenge in the program and come out stronger. A quiet evening. That evening, Marcus sat on the porch at home, his toolbox resting beside him. The sky was painted with streaks of pink and orange as the sun dipped below the horizon. Lisa joined him, a cup of tea in her hands. "How was it?" she asked, settling into the chair next to him. "It was amazing," Marcus said, a smile spreading across his face. "We built a robot. It actually worked." Lisa chuckled. "I told you, baby. You've got a gift." Marcus looked at the toolbox, its shiny surface reflecting the fading light. For the first time, he felt like his path was clear. The challenges ahead didn't seem as daunting. They felt like opportunities to grow. As the stars began to appear, Marcus leaned back in his chair, his heart full of hope for what lay ahead. To be continued in Chapter 6. Ban John Noy. Chapter 6. ChatGPT John Noy. Chapter 6. Rising to the Challenge. The days at the Tech Horizons program began to follow a rhythm, but Marcus found himself thriving in the routine. Each morning, he walked into the workshop with a mix of anticipation and determination, ready to face the next challenge. However, not everything came easy. The assignments grew more complex, and the instructors pushed harder. For Marcus, it was an opportunity to learn not just about technology, but about himself, his strengths, his weaknesses, and how far he was willing to go to prove to himself that he belonged. A new project. 2 weeks into the program, Mr. Bradley gathered the students in the main workshop. A sleek, disassembled drone sat on the table in front of him, its components neatly arranged. "Your next project," he began, "is to build a fully functional drone capable of flying through an obstacle course. This isn't just about assembling parts. It's about problem-solving, teamwork, and creativity." Marcus's heart raced as he listened. He had never worked on something as advanced as a drone before. "You'll have 2 weeks," Mr. Bradley continued. "Each team will design, build, and program their drone. At the end of the project, we'll hold a competition to see whose drone performs best." The room buzzed with excitement as the students broke into their teams. Marcus, Jerome, and Maria huddled at their workstation, already brainstorming ideas. Pushing boundaries. The first challenge was designing the drone's frame. Maria sketched out a lightweight but sturdy structure, while Jerome worked on the programming. Marcus focused on the wiring, ensuring the circuits could handle the power needed for the motors and sensors. By the third day, their progress hit a wall. The drone wouldn't stabilize during test flights, wobbling uncontrollably before crashing to the ground. "This is ridiculous," Maria said, frustration evident in her voice. "We've checked everything twice. Why isn't it working?" Marcus stared at the tangled mess of wires, feeling the weight of their frustration. He closed his eyes, recalling something Ellie had said during one of their earlier sessions. "When you're stuck, step back and look at the problem from a new angle." "Let's take a break," Marcus suggested. "We're probably missing something simple because we're overthinking it." The team reluctantly agreed, and Marcus spent the evening reviewing drone manuals and online forums. His persistence paid off when he found a video explaining how slight imbalances in the propellers could cause instability. Breakthroughs. The next morning, Marcus arrived early, armed with new ideas. He adjusted the propellers and recalibrated the sensors before Jerome and Maria arrived. "Try it now," he said once they were all assembled. Maria powered up the drone, and this time, it lifted off smoothly, hovering steadily in the air. "It's working," Jerome exclaimed, pumping his fist in the air. Marcus grinned, relief washing over him. The small victory reignited the team's determination, and they worked late into the evening fine-tuning their design. The competition. 2 weeks later, the day of the competition arrived. The workshop was transformed into an obstacle course, complete with rings, ramps, and tight corners. Each team gathered around, their drones gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Marcus's team was the fourth to go. As Jerome controlled the drone's movements, Maria and Marcus watched anxiously from the sidelines. The drone navigated the course with precision, weaving through the rings and avoiding the obstacles. When it crossed the finish line, the team erupted in cheers. Their drone's performance placed them in second overall, a result they were proud of given the challenges they had faced. "You did great," Mr. Bradley said as he shook their hands. "Your teamwork and problem-solving skills really stood out." Growing confidence. The competition marked a turning point for Marcus. It wasn't just the success of the drone. It was the realization that he could rise to challenges he once thought were beyond him. Each problem he solved, each lesson he learned, built his confidence brick by brick. But the journey wasn't without its struggles. On some days, the weight of the program felt overwhelming, and Marcus questioned whether he was truly cut out for this path. Yet, every time doubt crept in, he thought about his mom's unwavering belief in him and Charles's encouragement. A glimpse of the future. One afternoon, Charles invited Marcus to his office for a private chat. The walls were lined with awards, photos, and blueprints for groundbreaking projects. "Marcus, I've been keeping an eye on your progress," Charles said, leaning back in his chair. "You've got a natural talent, but what sets you apart is your persistence. You don't give up, even when things get tough." "Thank you, sir," Marcus said, feeling both humbled and proud. "I want you to start thinking about what's next," Charles continued. "This program is just the beginning. With your skills and determination, you could go far. College, internships, maybe even your own tech startup someday." The thought was both thrilling and intimidating. Marcus had always dreamed of doing something meaningful, but hearing it from someone like Charles made it feel tangible. A new mentor. As the weeks passed, Marcus grew closer to Ellie, who continued to mentor him in her spare time. She introduced him to advanced concepts like microcontroller programming and sensor integration. "You've got a knack for this," Ellie said one evening as they worked on a prototype for a smart home device. "But remember, it's not just about the technology. It's about how you can use it to make people's lives better." Her words struck a chord with Marcus, reminding him of why he loved fixing things in the first place. It wasn't just about solving problems, it was about helping people, like Mr. Jenkins and his radio. Looking ahead. By the end of the program's first month, Marcus felt like a different person. He had faced challenges, learned from his mistakes, and grown in ways he hadn't thought possible. One evening, as he sat on the porch with his mom, watching the stars, Lisa turned to him with a smile. "You've changed, Marcus," she said. "You're more confident now. I can see it in the way you carry yourself." "Yeah," Marcus said, a small smile playing on his lips. "I guess I have." As he looked out at the quiet neighborhood, Marcus felt a deep sense of gratitude for his mom, for Charles and Ellie, and for the opportunities that had come his way. He didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time, he felt ready to face it head-on. To be continued in Chapter 7. Ban Jun Noi. Chapter 7. ChatGPT Jun Noi. Chapter 7. Overcoming Doubts. The program was in full swing, and Marcus was thriving. Each day brought new challenges, from programming logic gates to assembling small mechanical prototypes. The confidence he had built over the past weeks gave him a solid foundation, but as the work grew harder, so did the self-doubt that occasionally crept into his mind. The midterm Project 1. Crisp Monday morning, Mr. Bradley gathered the students in the main workshop. The usual buzz of conversation quieted as he stepped forward, holding a large envelope. "Today, we're starting the midterm project," he announced. "This is a big one. Each team will design and build a prototype for a device that solves a real-world problem. You'll have 3 weeks to complete it, and you'll present it to a panel of judges, including some of our program's top sponsors." The stakes felt higher than ever, and the room hummed with nervous energy. Marcus, Jerome, and Maria regrouped at their workstation. They exchanged ideas, brainstorming possible projects. Maria suggested a water-purifying device. Jerome proposed a gadget to assist the visually impaired, and Marcus threw out an idea for a device that could automate basic household tasks for elderly people. "All great ideas," Maria said, "but which one do we pick?" Jerome adjusted his glasses. "I think we should go with Marcus's idea. It's simple, practical, and it aligns with the kind of challenges people actually face." Marcus blinked, taken aback. "You really think so?" Maria nodded. "Yeah, you've got a knack for this kind of stuff, Marcus. Let's do it." Building the prototype. The next few days were a whirlwind of planning and designing. Marcus sketched a blueprint for a small device that could handle tasks like turning off lights, opening doors, and even fetching small objects. They named it the Helper Bot. Maria sourced materials for the frame, Jerome dove into the coding, and Marcus worked tirelessly on the wiring and motor functions. Progress was steady, but not without setbacks. One evening, as Marcus tested the motor for the robot's arm, a puff of smoke rose from the circuit board. He winced, coughing as the sharp smell of burnt plastic filled the air. "Great," he muttered, slumping into his chair. "Now we're behind schedule." Jerome walked over, examining the damage. "It's not too bad. We can fix this, but it'll take time." Maria joined them, her expression calm but determined. "We'll figure it out. Don't stress." Despite their reassurances, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he had let the team down. That night, as he sat in his room staring at the burned circuit board, he felt a pang of doubt. Was he really ready for this? Could he handle the pressure? Words of encouragement. The next day, Ellie noticed Marcus's subdued demeanor and pulled him aside during a break. "What's going on, Marcus?" she asked, her tone gentle. Marcus hesitated, then sighed. "I messed up. I burned one of the boards for our project, and now we're behind. What if I keep messing up? What if I'm just not good enough?" Ellie crossed her arms, leaning against the table. "Marcus, do you know how many times I've burned a circuit board? Or accidentally fried a sensor?" He looked up, surprised. "You've done that?" "More times than I can count," Ellie said with a laugh. "Mistakes are part of the process. They don't define your ability. They define your willingness to keep going. You've got the talent, Marcus. What matters now is whether you believe in yourself as much as we believe in you." Her words sank in, and for the first time in days, Marcus felt a flicker of hope. Breakthroughs and setbacks. With renewed determination, Marcus returned to the project. He rebuilt the circuit board, this time triple-checking every connection. As the days passed, the Helper Bot began to take shape. Its sleek frame housed compact motors, and the programming allowed it to perform basic tasks like opening a door or picking up small items. But just as the team began to feel confident, another setback struck. During a test run, the bot's arm jammed, refusing to move. "This can't be happening," Maria groaned, running her hands through her hair. "It's probably a mechanical issue," Marcus said, trying to stay calm. "I'll take it apart and figure it out." Jerome nodded. "We've got time to fix this. Let's focus on one problem at a time." Racing against the clock. With only 3 days left before the presentation, the team worked late into the night, troubleshooting the bot's issues. Marcus stayed focused, his hands steady as he adjusted the motor and reinforced the arm's joint. Finally, on the eve of the presentation, the Helper Bot performed flawlessly. It opened a door, picked up a small cup, and even turned off a light switch with precision. The team cheered, their exhaustion giving way to relief and pride. "We did it," Marcus said, a grin spreading across his face. Maria clapped him on the back. "You mean you did it? That arm wouldn't be working without you." The presentation. The day of the presentation arrived, and the workshop was transformed into a formal venue. The students dressed in their best, their projects displayed on individual tables. Marcus's heart raced as he stood beside Jerome and Maria, watching the judges approach. Among them was Charles, who gave Marcus an encouraging nod. Jerome handled the introduction, Maria demonstrated the bot's functions, and Marcus explained the technical details. The judges seemed impressed, nodding and asking thoughtful questions. When the presentations ended, Mr. Bradley stepped forward to announce the results. The team that showed the most innovation, teamwork, and practical application is the creators of the Helper Bot. Marcus's team erupted in cheers as they accepted their award. For Marcus, the recognition was more than just a trophy. It was validation of his hard work and a glimpse of the bright future ahead. A moment of gratitude. That evening, Marcus sat on the porch with Lisa, the trophy resting on the table beside him. The stars twinkled overhead, casting a serene glow over the quiet neighborhood. "You did it, baby," Lisa said, her voice filled with pride. "I always knew you could." Marcus smiled, the weight of the past weeks lifting from his shoulders. "Thanks, Mom, for everything. I couldn't have done it without you." Lisa leaned over, planting a kiss on his forehead. "This is just the beginning, Marcus. You've got so much ahead of you." As Marcus gazed at the stars, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for his mom, for his mentors, and for the journey that had brought him this far. The challenges had tested him, but they had also shaped him into someone stronger and more determined than ever. To be continued in Chapter 8. Ban John Noi, Chapter 8. ChatGPT John Noi. Chapter 8. A Future Unfolding. The weeks following the Helper Bot's success passed in a blur. Marcus and his team were lauded as stars of the Tech Horizons program, their project earning them invitations to networking events, workshops, and even a brief mention in a local newspaper article. But for Marcus, the real victory wasn't the recognition. It was the confidence he had gained. Yet, with the end of the program approaching, Marcus couldn't help but wonder, what came next? The thought both excited and terrified him. An unexpected offer. One afternoon, Charles asked Marcus to join him for a private meeting in his office. The room, with its sleek decor and walls lined with awards, always felt a bit intimidating, but Charles's warm smile put Marcus at ease. "Marcus, you've grown so much during this program," Charles began, leaning back in his chair. "Your dedication, your creativity, and your ability to overcome challenges. It's rare to see someone your age with so much potential." "Thank you, sir," Marcus said, his voice steady but humble. "I've been thinking," Charles continued. "I run a summer internship program at my company for promising young talent. It's hands-on, fast-paced, and will push you even harder than this program has. But I think you're ready. What do you say?" Marcus's eyes widened. "You're offering me an internship?" "That's right," Charles said with a grin. "It's paid too. I want to make sure you have the resources to focus on your work without worrying about anything else." For a moment, Marcus couldn't speak. The opportunity felt like the next big step toward his dreams. "I'd love to," he finally said, his voice filled with emotion. "Thank you so much for this chance." Sharing the news that evening, Marcus rushed home, bursting through the door with a smile so wide it lit up the entire room. "Mom," he called. "You're not going to believe this!" Lisa appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "What's got you so excited?" "Charles offered me a summer internship at his company," Marcus said, barely able to contain his excitement. "It's paid, and I'll get to work on real projects." Lisa's face broke into a proud smile as she pulled him into a tight hug. "I knew it, baby. I knew you'd go far. You've worked so hard for this." Her words filled Marcus with a deep sense of pride and gratitude. He thought about how far he had come, from tinkering with old radios in his room to building robots and earning an internship at a tech company. It felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. The internship begins. The first day of the internship brought new challenges and opportunities. Marcus found himself in a sprawling innovation lab filled with cutting-edge technology: 3D printers, laser cutters, advanced robotics, and prototype gadgets. The environment was intimidating, but thrilling. Charles introduced Marcus to his mentor for the summer, a senior engineer named Mr. Alvarez, a no-nonsense man with a sharp eye for detail. Mr. Alvarez wasted no time putting Marcus to work. "Your first project," Mr. Alvarez said, handing Marcus a set of blueprints, "is to modify this drone to carry a heavier payload. Think you can handle it?" Marcus studied the blueprints, his mind already racing with ideas. "I'll do my best, sir." "Good," Mr. Alvarez said, a hint of a smile on his face. "Show me what you've got." Overcoming new challenges. The internship was a whirlwind of activity. Each day brought new assignments, and Marcus quickly learned that the work was far more demanding than anything he had encountered before. There were times when he struggled, especially when he encountered technologies he wasn't familiar with. One afternoon, while trying to integrate a new sensor into a robot, Marcus accidentally short-circuited the entire system. The failure hit him hard, and for a moment, he doubted himself again. Mr. Alvarez noticed Marcus's frustration and pulled him aside. "You're going to mess up," he said plainly. "I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I still make mistakes. What matters is how you bounce back." "So, what did you learn?" Marcus took a deep breath, replaying the steps in his mind. "I didn't double-check the connections before testing the power," he admitted. "Exactly," Mr. Alvarez said. "Now fix it. You'll remember this lesson next time." The experience stuck with Marcus, reinforcing the idea that mistakes weren't failures. They were opportunities to grow, a new path. By the end of the internship, Marcus had not only completed several successful projects, but had also developed relationships with the engineers and interns around him. He felt like part of a team, like he truly belonged in this world of innovation and problem-solving. On the last day, Charles called him into his office once more. "Marcus, I've been impressed by everything you've accomplished this summer," Charles said. "You've got a bright future ahead of you, and I want to help you reach your goals. Have you thought about college?" Marcus hesitated. "I've thought about it, but I don't know if we can afford it." Charles smiled. "Leave that to me. I want to sponsor you for a scholarship." "You've earned it." Marcus's heart swelled with emotion. "Thank you, sir. I don't even know what to say." "Say you'll make the most of it," Charles said with a grin. "And when you're in my shoes someday, pay it forward." Looking ahead. That evening, Marcus and Lisa sat on the porch, a tradition they had grown fond of. The summer air was warm, and the stars sparkled brightly above them. "You've come so far, Marcus," Lisa said, her voice filled with pride. "Your dad would be so proud of you." Marcus looked at the stars, his heart full. "Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." As he sat there, thinking about everything that had happened, from fixing Mr. U. Jenkins's radio to earning a scholarship, Marcus felt ready for whatever came next. The future no longer felt like an abstract dream. It was real, and it was waiting for him, and he was ready to make the most of it.